points, and we're ready for highlights. 3 weeks remain in the regular season. 4 teams, Miami, San Francisco, Chicago, and Denver, are in the playoffs. 15 others are still in the fight, including Seattle, which will be in if they win or if New England loses this coming Sunday. And as you watch the highlights of yesterday's Seattle-Denver game, a terrific game, you might ponder this. Number 80 for the Seahawks, Steve Largent, began his career in the uniform of the Houston Oilers and may end it in the Hall of Fame. Later in halftime, you'll see another receiver who shares the same distinction. In Mile High Stadium, the Broncos put their 10-game winning streak and their 1-game lead in the AFC West on the line against the Seahawks. Seattle controlled the game from the first play from scrimmage. Craig looking down the sideline to the Michigan State rookie Darrell Turner. Turner would make a spectacular grab and go 80 yards for the touchdown that put Seattle on top 7-0. As you will see later, Turner's big catch also set up a big day for the other Seattle wideout, Steve Largent. Slow half on offense for Denver in the first half, but with 4:53 remaining before halftime, Elway was able to throw this 19-yard touchdown pass to Butch Johnson, which tied things up at 10-10. But Seattle would untie it in the third period as Steve Largent was on his way to the most productive day of his 9-year career. This pass over the middle to Largent went for 65 yards total and set up the touchdown that made it 17-10 Seattle. Key differences in the ball game: Seattle, with the ball control passing attack, kept the football for 38 minutes. Denver had no pass rush and no third down conversions in the game. Nevertheless, Elway was able to get the Broncos into position to tie the game with 39 seconds remaining when barefoot kicker Rich Carlos hit the right upright from 25 yards out. It wound up 27-24 Seattle. Rematch in Seattle, December 15th. Yesterday in the Louisiana Superdome, the 49ers clinched the title in the NFC West and tuned up for the playoffs. Joe Montana got off to a slow start, missed his first 7 passes, but was patient as Wendell Tyler picked up the slack on the ground. This touchdown pass from Montana to Freddie Solomon in the third period made it 21-3 49ers. And the San Francisco defense would get its first touchdown of the year, an interception return of 53 yards by rookie linebacker Todd Shell out of Brigham Young, one of the 7 interchangeable linebackers who have been the key to the 49er defense this year. Yesterday, 8 sacks for San Francisco, 2 of them by Shell, 2 of them by Fred Dean, prompting Richard Todd to suggest that San Francisco, not Miami, is the best team in the NFL. Prior to this year, the Minnesota Vikings had owned the Chicago Bears, but now the Bears have beaten the Vikings twice on their way to their first division title since 1963. Another flawless game for pickup quarterback Steve Fuller. This 30-yard touchdown to Willie Gault made it 7-3 first period as the Bears were on their way to a rout. Singletary led the defense with 11.5 tackles. Peyton with his 8th game this year over 100 yards. You'll see the Bears next Monday night. There were several significant milestones in yesterday's play. Among them, Joe Theismann broke a Redskin career passing record that had been held by Sonny Jurgensen. John Riggins moved past Don Hudson into 3rd place on the career touchdown list for the league. Some of the record-breaking has been facilitated by the switch in 1978 from 14 to 16 games, as will Eric Dickerson's new single-season rushing record if he is able to surpass O.J. Simpson's magic number of 2003. We're going to look at Dickerson now, and after him, Charlie Joyner, who, like Steve Largent, began his career as a Houston Oiler, and like Largent, may end it in the Hall of Fame. LA's 1-point victory over Tampa Bay was ultimately decided by their early block of an extra point kick, but the focus was on Eric Dickerson. 124 of those 191 yards came in the 4th quarter. This 51-yarder, his longest run of the day. Dickerson needs to average 124 yards a game over the last 3 to break in 16 games the NFL rushing record O.J. Simpson set in 14 games back in 1973. And meanwhile, Charlie Joyner and Jan Stenerud are the only 2 surviving original AFL players in the NFL. Stenerud holds a lot of kicking records, so it's fitting that yesterday Joyner broke Charlie Taylor's career receiving record with this catch, one of 6 he had on the day. The Steelers were routing the San Diego Chargers 52-24. Joyner, quite typically, was somewhat upset that he had not broken the career receiving record in a victorious effort for his ball club. More highlights. In the National Football Conference, division titleists San Francisco and Chicago are in the playoffs. 5 teams, the Giants, the Cardinals, the Redskins, the Cowboys, and the Rams, fighting for the remaining 3 spots. Important to remember this about all 5. Each controls its destiny. any of the 5 which wins its 3 remaining games is in the playoff. And we're going to take a look now at Washington, a team which has made it into the last 2 Super Bowls and is still in playoff contention this year, despite the longest injury list in the NFL. Before yesterday, the Giants hadn't come from as many as 2 touchdowns down to win in the second half since 1972. So when Bill Kenny hit Carlos Carson for this 34-yard touchdown with 9:18 to go and put the Chiefs on top 27-14, it looked as though New York was about to drop out of the first-place tie in the NFC East. But Bill Sims came back with a touchdown pass to Bobby Johnson. Then, with just over 2 minutes to go, this game winner to tight end Zeke Mowat. For years, the Giants have been searching for a competent tight end. Last year, they drafted 2 ahead of Mowat, signed him as a free agent. He has solved the problem. The Washington Redskins had to go most of the day yesterday without John Riggins, who didn't play after the first scoring drive. But rookie Keith Griffin filled the gap on the ground, and Joe Theismann had a terrific day in the air. Charlie Brown was back after 8 weeks out with a fractured ankle. He caught this touchdown pass that made it 24-0 Washington in the second period. And with Brown back in the lineup, Art Monk will be even harder to stop on the other side, as he demonstrated yesterday with 11 catches. You'll see the Skins Thursday night against the Vikes in Minnesota.